Hey there. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Okay, great. So this time, you brought a whole stack of sources about making money in a modern economy.
Yeah,
But, and this is the cool part, they're all like inspired by ancient wisdom.
it's true.
We're talking like Babylonian financial advice. Crazy, right?
Yeah, thousands of years old, but still relevant today.
It's wild how, like, even back then, they knew what they were talking about.
Oh, absolutely. Like, take the idea of pay yourself first. That's straight out of ancient Babylon, but it's like financial advice gold even now.
Okay, so break that down for me. What's pay yourself first all about?
So basically, it means before you spend a dime, put aside like at least 10% of what you earn. It's like building this financial foundation, brick by brick.
Okay, so it's not just about like hoarding cash, it's more about creating a cushion
Yeah,
so you've got more options down the line.
exactly. Think of it like this. For every 10 bucks you make, one goes straight to savings. No questions asked.
I like that.
Yeah.
Sort of sets the tone, right?
Then, right. And nowadays, it's even easier to do with things like, automatic transfers. Every payday, boom, a chunk goes right into your savings account. You don't even have to think about it.
That makes so much sense. Kind of removes the temptation to spend it too.
For sure. And speaking of temptation, another principle that's super relevant today is controlling your desires. With all the ads and social media, it's like there's this constant pressure to buy, buy, buy.
Oh, tell me about it. It's like our needs just magically expand to match like whatever we're making.
Precisely. And that's what the sources warn against. They're all about figuring out what do you really need versus what do you just kind of want?
Mm-hmm.
Like think about all those subscriptions you might have or impulse buys online.
So true. And all the pressure to like keep up with the latest trends.
Yeah. And that's where a budget comes in. It's not about like denying yourself. It's more about making smart choices that actually fit your goal.
I think that's a key point. It's about being conscious of where your money's going, not just mindlessly swiping that card.
For sure. Now, once you've got a handle on saving and, keeping your desires in check, that's when things get really interesting. It's time to make your money work for you.
All right, I'm intrigued. How do we do that?
The sources call it the power of golden slaves.
Golden slaves. Okay, now I'm really curious.
Basically, it's the foundation of investing. It's not just letting your money sit in a savings account. It's about putting it to work so it actually generates more income.
Okay, so my golden slaves are like my investments, stocks, bonds, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Think index funds, maybe some real estate crowdfunding or dividend-paying stocks. That's all about putting your money to work, creating passive income.
That's cool. But I also remember some stories in those sources about people getting into trouble with like risky ventures.
Oh, for sure. There are definitely some cautionary tales in there. Like there's one about a guy who lost a fortune because he invested in like a friend's harebrained scheme.
Yep.
Yeah. So the message is clear. Do your research. Find people who actually know what they're talking about and don't just chase the latest trends, or listen to random hot tips.
Smart advice. So it's not just about investing, it's about being strategic and maybe even a little skeptical.
Absolutely. Diversifying is key too. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, as they say.
Makes sense. Spread that risk around.
Ah,
Now, speaking of investments, one thing that surprised me in those ancient texts was the emphasis on owning a home.
interesting. Right.
I always thought of that more as a lifestyle choice, not necessarily a financial strategy.
Well, it's both, really. Sure, it gives you stability, a sense of pride, but it can also be a fantastic way to build wealth over time. It's a tangible asset, unlike, say, renting. Plus, it just gives you a sense of security knowing you have a place of your own.
I see what you mean. So even though renting might seem easier up front, in the long run, owning could be a better move.
You got it. It's all about thinking long term, and it's not just the financial side either. Those sources actually talk about the psychological benefits too, like owning your own space can boost your confidence, which then spills over into other areas of your life.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've got saving, we've got controlling desires, investing wisely, owning a home. What else is in this ancient wisdom toolkit?
One big one is never stop learning. It's all about constantly investing in yourself, your skills, your knowledge.
Right, because in today's world, things are changing so fast.
Yeah.
Got to stay ahead of the curve.
Exactly. The sources talk about increasing your ability to earn. And today, that could mean anything from taking online courses to attending workshops.
Or even just reading a ton. It's like
Hmm.
the more you learn, the more valuable you become, right?
Absolutely. Whether you're running your own business, freelancing, or working for someone else, knowledge is power. I'll always be upgrading those skills.
I love how these ancient principles just like seamlessly connect to making money in the modern world.
Right. It's like they tapped into some timeless truths about wealth creation.
Okay, so we've covered saving, controlling desires, investing wisely, and never stop learning. Anything else we should be taking notes on?
Well, they also really hammer home the importance of thinking long term.
Hmm.
Don't just focus on what you need right now. Think about where you want to be 5, 10, even 20 years down the road.
Start with the end in mind, right?
Exactly. Picture yourself in the future, financially secure, enjoying life. That's the kind of vision these sources want you to have.
So it's bigger than just retirement planning. It's about a whole vision for your financial future.
Absolutely. Like, think about diversifying your income. Maybe start a side hustle, create some passive income streams.
Yeah. Instead of relying on just one paycheck, have a bunch of things bringing in money.
You got it. And there's so many options now, more than ever before. You could freelance, start an online business, even invest in rental properties. The sky's the limit.
That's super inspiring. I love how these principles are all about like taking control and creating your own abundance.
Exactly. And the most important principle of all, take action. All this knowledge won't do a thing if you just sit on it.
So true. It's time to stop procrastinating and actually make things happen. Even small steps count.
You got it. Every journey starts with a single step. Maybe it's setting up that automatic savings transfer, or maybe it's finally making that budget. Whatever it is, just take action.
I love that. It's like the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is now.
Absolutely. And you know what those sources say? Men of action are favored by the goddess of good luck. It's like a metaphor, but it really drives home the point that seizing opportunities is key.
So true. It's not just wishing for things to be better. It's actually doing something about it.
Exactly. And remember, it's a journey, not a destination. There will be bumps along the way, but if you stick with it, the results will come.
This has been awesome. I already feel like I'm shifting my mindset, seeing things from a whole new angle.
That's great to hear. Now, to bring this all to life, why don't we dive into some of the stories from these sources? They're packed with these really captivating tales that actually show these principles in action.
Love it. Hit me with those stories.
So these stories, right, they're not just entertainment. They really drive home these lessons that we can actually apply to our own lives. Like take the one about these two friends, they're struggling financially, right, just scraping by,
Hmm.
and they go to the richest guy in their city for advice. They're tired of being broke and they want to know the secret.
Classic underdog story. Always a good one.
Right. But here's the interesting part. The rich guy doesn't just hand them a get-rich-quick plan. It's more like he guides them to discover those principles for themselves.
I see what you mean. Like, it's not about just following instructions. It's about actually understanding the why behind it.
Exactly. And then there's another one about a wealthy man's son, right? He's given this huge chunk of money and a set of guidelines to build wealth. It's super engaging because it shows how important it is to learn from your mistakes.
Ooh, I think we've all been there. Trial and error, right?
Yeah.
Part of the process.
Totally. This son, he doesn't just magically become a financial genius. He makes some bad calls, loses money, faces setbacks, the whole 9 yards.
Oof, yeah, I feel that. Stumbling blocks are definitely part of the journey.
But the big thing is he learns from those experiences. He thinks back on his mistakes, goes back to his dad's advice, and eventually he gets back on track.
So it's a reminder that it's not always a straight line to success. There are going to be detours, but it's how you bounce back that matters.
Right. And it also shows how risky it is to fall for those, get-rich-quick schemes. The son loses a big part of what his dad gave him because he gets lured into this, bad investment.
Yes, some things never change, right? Still happens today. People promise in the world and delivering nothing.
Sadly, yeah. So it's a reminder to always do your due diligence, be skeptical of anything that sounds too good to be true, and seek advice from those who have a proven track record.
Solid advice. Don't trust blindly, right? Always question and investigate. Now, there was another story that I found really interesting, the one about an ox and a donkey.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was about how good intentions can sometimes backfire.
Ah, yes, that's a good one. So the ox, he's tired of working, right? So he tricks the farmer into using the donkey to plow the fields instead.
Clever ox, but probably not so great for the donkey, huh?
Yeah, not so much. The ox gets his day off, but the donkey is totally overworked and super resentful.
So I guess the lesson there is even when you're trying to help, you got to make sure you're not putting yourself in a bad spot.
Exactly. If you blindly take on other people's burdens, it can lead to a lot of resentment and frustration.
Yeah, makes sense. Setting boundaries is important, even when it comes to money. Now, I also remember a story about a guy who, like, escapes a really tough situation and then rebuilds his life using these principles.
Ah, that's a powerful one. It's a testament to the power of resilience for sure.
Comeback stories are the best. Tell me more.
So this guy, he starts with absolutely nothing. He's in debt. He's got nothing going for him. But instead of giving up, he gets a grip on his finances. He makes a budget. He saves like crazy. And eventually, he builds his own successful business.
Wow, that's amazing. Proof that no matter where you start, you can turn things around. It's about the effort, the mindset.
Totally. And what's even cooler is it's not just about the money for him. He gets his self-respect back, builds strong relationships, and even contributes to his community.
So it's like success on multiple levels, right?
Yeah.
Financial stability feeds into other areas of his life.
Precisely. It's a holistic view of success, for sure. Now, it's interesting, right, connecting these ancient stories to, like, the modern world, because there are definitely differences.
Oh yeah, for sure. Things have changed a lot since those stories were told. What do you see as some of the biggest differences?
Well, one big one is the sheer amount of information we have access to now. There's so much financial advice out there, so many investment opportunities, it can be overwhelming.
Totally. It's like information overload.
Hmm.
And with social media, it's even harder to tell what's legit and what's just noise.
Right. So you have to be super careful about what you trust. Do your research, and remember, not all opportunities are equal. There are more ways to invest than ever, but there's also more risk.
So it's all about being informed, being careful, and not letting your emotions run the show.
Exactly. But there's also a flip side. All this technology, it's also made things easier in a lot of ways. Like online platforms make it so much simpler to invest, track your spending, even build a budget. There's so many tools at our disposal.
True. It's amazing how accessible things are now compared to even a few years ago.
Right. And then there's the gig economy. That's opened up a whole new world of possibilities for making money. Freelancing, online businesses, the sky's the limit.
It's exciting, right? Like so much potential for anyone who's willing to learn and adapt.
Absolutely. We can take these ancient principles, apply them to our modern world, and really create something amazing.
I love that. This whole conversation has been so eye-opening. I'm already thinking about my own finances in a new way.
That's fantastic to hear. Now, to wrap things up, let's shift gears a bit and talk about the psychology of money.
Ooh, interesting. I'm curious to see what those sources have to say about that.
Yeah.
So how do these ancient sources connect the psychological side of money to actually building wealth in today's world?
It's really interesting. They talk a lot about mindset, beliefs, even your emotions, and how those can shape your financial outcomes.
Hmm. So there's like an inner game involved, not just practical stuff.
Exactly. They talk about this idea of wealth consciousness, like believing that you can attract and manage money effectively.
Okay, so it's not just about knowing what to do, it's about believing you can actually do it.
Right. And one of the big things they emphasize is self-worth. Like how much you value yourself is directly tied to your earning power.
I've heard that before. Like, you get what you believe you deserve. Does that apply to money too?
Totally. They say that the more knowledge and skills you have, the more you can earn. So it's all about investing in yourself, both personally and professionally, and recognizing that you're worth it.
That reminds me of personal branding, putting yourself out there and showing what you're capable of.
Exactly. And it's about moving away from that scarcity mindset where you're always worried about not having enough to an abundance mindset where you believe in your ability to create wealth.
It seems like mindset is so crucial in any area of life, especially finances. Believing you can succeed is half the battle.
Totally agree. But it's not just about positive thinking. It's about backing it up with consistent action. The sources also acknowledge that emotions can really mess with our financial decisions. Like fear, greed, impatience.
Oh, yeah, I've totally been there. Impulsive purchases,
Mhm.
FOMO investments, not my proudest moments.
We've all been there. There are stories about people who get consumed by greed, make hasty decisions, and end up losing everything. It's a reminder to approach money decisions with a clear head.
So have a plan, do your research, and don't let your emotions lead the way.
Exactly. And they also talk about the importance of patience, like building wealth is a marathon, not a sprint. It takes time, discipline, and delaying gratification.
That's a good way to put it. I'm not the most patient person, but I get it.
They use the analogy of a tree. It takes time for a tree to grow strong and bear fruit. Same with wealth.
That's a great analogy. It takes time to build a solid foundation.
Exactly. And that long-term view is even more important today. With all the get-rich-quick stuff out there, it's easy to get caught up in that, but real wealth takes time.
Right, it's about the steady climb, not the overnight success.
You got it. So when you pull all these insights together, you get this holistic picture of wealth. It's not just about the money, it's about aligning your finances with your values, goals, and what you want out of life.
It's like creating a life where you have enough money to do the things you love, support the people you care about, and even make a difference in the world.
Exactly. True wealth is about more than just dollars and cents. It's about time, relationships, health, and purpose.
This has been such an incredible deep dive. I feel like I've learned so much. So as we wrap things up, what are some key takeaways you'd like to leave our listener with?
Well, first, I'd say take some time for self-reflection. Look at your current financial situation, your goals, and what you believe about money. See where you can make improvements and commit to those changes.
So start by taking stock, basically. Figure out where you are and where you want to go.
Exactly. Then create a plan to get there. Maybe it's setting up a budget, saving more, exploring investment options, or even finding ways to boost your income. And then, the most important part, take action.
Love it. Don't get stuck in the planning phase. Just start doing.
You got it. And don't be afraid to ask for help along the way. Find mentors, advisors, read books, whatever you need to do. There's so much support available. And lastly, cultivate that abundance mindset. Believe you can create the financial future you want.
Yes. Believe in yourself and your ability to make it happen.
Exactly. And remember, enjoy the journey. It's not just about the destination, it's about the growth and transformation along the way.
This deep dive has been so inspiring. I feel like I have a whole new toolkit to work with. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom.
It's been a pleasure. I hope these ancient principles, adapted for today's world, will help our listener create a life of abundance and fulfillment.
And to our listener, we'd love to hear from you. What resonated with you most from this deep dive? What actions are you inspired to take? Until next time, keep diving deep, keep learning, and keep believing in your power to create the financial future you deserve.